I don't know about you, but if you're a human being who lives in the United States of America, I'm pretty sure the topic of gender ideology has come across your dinner table. And it's a pretty problematic thing. It's growing exponentially, and I think it's about to hit a head. I tried to stay away from gender ideology because there's already a lot of people covering it, and I don't want to piggyback on it, but I think it's some things I need to point out because I'm kind of getting tired of hearing it. So this episode is going to be devoted to gender ideology and all the things wrong with it. And, you know, just it's the Chico de Manuel Show. You know what's coming. Let's get it. I'm firing up, and I'm gonna try not to get too unhinged on this, but you know, this gender theory, this gender ideology conversation, it's got to stop. Like, it's been going on for a while. We've heard all the lunacy and all the fallacies that have been regurgitated and repeated and tried and have been promoted to a mainstream level. And this shit's just out of control. This whole LGBTQ movement, I think it was more LGBT in the beginning, and it was wholesome and it meant something. And they were getting at something. You know, they just wanted to be represented. They didn't want to be judged. They didn't want to be shunned out. Fair enough. You know, what you do in the bedroom is up to you. I don't give a fuck, personally. But now, this shit's gone radical. It's out of control. And every time I hear one of these pseudo experts or whenever these pundits that I've never heard of before, never seen before, on some type of platform with orange, green, pink, and yellow hair and fucking gauges, or like just some weird, I don't want to say not normal because people dye their hair and shit, but it's abnormal in the sense that it's like they're toting it as a look. These are not natural human hair colors, and it's an extension of their desire to extend their sexuality and their fetishes to a 24/7 mainstream kind of thing. Now, if you watch Odin's Men on YouTube or on Rumble or on Locals, you know, I was just watching him, and just this whole past week, like every time I've been jumping on YouTube, I've been hearing about this shit. I've been hearing about it for a long time. As a matter of fact, at the height of my whole cross-dressing thing, which I don't do anymore, well, I'm not going to do anymore, and I'll talk about that in a later episode, but at the height of all of that, that's when I discovered Matt Walsh. I watched What Is a Woman, and that's when I realized the path I was going down with it. And I tried to find a way to not go down that path and like still somehow like basically have my cake and eat it too in moderation. But after I've been listening to this for the past year, you know, What Is a Woman dropped about a year ago. I don't think it's completely untenable. It's fallacious in every sense of the meaning. Like, it makes no sense. There are some threads of it which, you know, It's like, yeah, what do they call it? Truism. It's like, yeah, I can agree with that. I can agree with this. I can see that. But they twist and turn and they take minorities and make them majorities, and they take exceptions and try to make them rules. And at this point, we are the fuck off the rails of the crazy train. Like, this train has exploded. 462 people have died, and there's now chemicals in the ground, widespread fires, dead animals, and a Santa Claus that wears green. Like, this shit is out of control. I think the conversation needs to stop being entertained. And it needs to stop being entertained at the point where you're requiring the average everyday person to disassociate themselves with objective reality, all for the sake of your affirmation, for your self-esteem, your self-image, like for you. It's just an extension of hedonism. It's narcissistic. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy on the grandest stage, and you're a part of it whether you want to be or not. I think the conversation needs to stop being entertained, because these people, there is no conceding defeat. They have these discussions to make it seem like they're being civil, or like, you know, like, yo, we do want to talk about this, we do want to, like, but no, at the end of the day, they want you to see shit their way, and if you see something different, fuck you, you know. You're the problem, even though you're the one that's been aligning with objective reality that has kept the human civilization going for the past, I don't know what, however many fucking years up until now, the best time to be alive. Now, the whole pronoun thing and the whole, I don't mind. Like, that's fairly minimal to me. But it's spilled over into this power and control bit, where it's like they're no longer asking you, and they're telling you, and if you don't, they throw a little temper tantrum, which who would give a fuck, except these people run everything. You got pride flags in the White House and shit. You got Joe Biden backing all the trans shit or whatever. Trans people, I don't think trans people themselves are bad. A little confused, got some different wiring going on upstairs. Like, I don't really care to get into the intricacies of like what all that is, dysphoria, yada, yada, yada. But I do care to get into the intricacies of how far I got to participate with this shit, how far anyone else had to participate with this shit, and the move on children. The move on children. Now, if you want to do these things in your own little circle and it's, you know, on your little, it's a little fringe thing, fine. But America got to where it was by doing certain things. That's why you have conservatism. Like, there are certain values that need to be conserved, that we need to repeat, you know, not just because we want to make you do what we want to make you do. It's to keep this thing rolling smoothly. And anytime you object to anything that these people say, it's like, oh, but, well, I don't think that's inclusive, and I don't think that's diverse, and I think everyone's like just what I was listening to Odin's Men. It was a Tim talk. I've seen the guy, but I don't fucking know his name. He had somebody on there, presents like a woman, but is a guy, biological male. And he was talking about in the sports, which I'm going to talk about later too. Like, in sports, like, she says she doesn't think that the most important thing in sports should be winning. It should be about team building. And when I hear that shit, it frustrates me deeply, because it's like, why do these people get platforms? Why are these the people that are getting airtime when they are literally saying dumb shit? Like, this is stupid. It's about team building. Like, oh yeah, okay, but like, why are you building that team? Are you building a team just for like a social hour, or like, you know, like what's the point of building the team? You're building the team so that you can have a competitive advantage when you engage in your sport, because winning is the objective of competition. It's the main objective. It's the overwhelming main objective. And when you put men in women's sports, biological men in women's sports, I don't give a damn what kind of wig or dress they got on, like, the facade stops there, because you're trying to intervene into a region where it's rooted in biology. Like, I don't give a damn how many hormones you take. Like, Joe Rogan said it best. What if Brock Lesnar wanted to be trans? What if he wanted to identify as a woman? You know, you're trying to break in and initiate all these changes to things that have been how they are forever and have worked for a reason. You're trying to change the fabric of society just to see yourself happy. And I agree, like you have to be a pretty miserable person to even attempt such a feat. And it's fucking, we got to stop this. Like, they just have to kick and scream and shout and be upset. We're only going to go so far with this, you know? And the more we talk, and it's just like, if you try to quit, let's say you're quitting smoking. You've been smoking cigarettes, you want to cut back. And then one of your buddies that you always smoke cigarettes with and what, you throw darts or you drink or you bowl or something. Say, hey man, come on down to the bowling alley. You know, nah, man, I'm just trying to quit smoking cigarettes. Now's my favorite place to do that. I'm going to just kick back home, watch a movie. Come on, man. You don't have to smoke cigarettes, man. Just come on down and bowl the game with me, man. I can't bowl without my partner. I don't know, man. I really want to watch the TV thing. And I just come on, man. Just one game. Just come bowl one game. Blah, 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 blah. Now, see, in that interaction, it's not a definitive no. Like, I keep entertaining your objection, him overcoming my objection. I say, I don't want to fucking go to the bowling alley because I'm trying to quit smoking and it's going to trigger me. I'm actually trying to stop this shit. And he keeps lowering the bar. Just one game. No, don't need to drink. I'll pick you up. I'll drop you off, blah, blah, blah. And every time he tries to make it easier, I don't make it harder. Now, if that conversation was to go like, hey, man, you want to go down to the bowling alley and fucking bowl the game, blah, blah, blah. No, man, I'm trying to stay away from there. I'm trying to cut back and smoking and shit and get a little healthier. That's one of the places where I love to smoke. Come on, man. You only got to play one game, man. Look, I'm not going bowling. You know, we can do something else some other time. But, like, I'm really trying to quit smoking. Like, it's a big problem for me. And the bowling alley is where I like to do that. Like, I'm not going. That's final. If you want to come hang out at the house and shit, I can whip something up real quick, but the bowling's dead. Really, man? Come on. That's click. Like, what part of no don't you get? I was even friendlier than I wanted to be. Like, you got to be stern. You got to be firm. Because, like, that's how they're going to be with you. They're changing the language. They're changing the culture. They're completely wiping out everything that once was. And just saying, colonization and white men and all this and that shit. It's like, everybody loves to comment on what they would have done if they were alive in 1776. Like, shut the hell up. Granted, slavery and colonization, not the most positive connotation, but it's like you're speaking on an era which you did not exist in. Like, you are talking from the most privileged position in humanity. And then you're trying to take your idea, which stems from the most privileged position in humanity, and you're trying to, like, make a judgment or like you're trying to use the position we are in today to explain why the actions of our ancestors and predecessors were immoral or wrong, or why something must be done to undo the damage caused by that shit or whatever. And it's like, you can't undo the past. Sorry, you can't undo the past. Like, we've done a lot since then. Like, all these activists and shit trying to, like, get you on board with everything. Like, it just needs to stop. Just stop talking about this shit with these people, We'll give you the pronouns if you can be respectful and if you can be passable, and, you can conduct yourself. We can give you the side eye or whatever, something's a little off up there or whatever. But it's like, if you can function and fit into the norm, like some of the classic trans people, like, they just wanted to live their life. They wasn't trying to shove theirs down your throat. What happened? Where'd that go? It's just like a 24/7 stage performance constantly, all the time, with these people complaining, we're marginalized, we're this, we're that. I have run out of fucks to give. Like, I can't, even with the cross-dressing thing, like, I cannot do this without feeling like I am somehow promoting it, even if I stay within my own realm. Like, I don't want to be painted with that brush. I know I am a biological male. I don't give a damn how many skirts and makeup or whatever I put on. Listen to this fucking voice. If you look at my physical build, like, I have a penis. There's no way. And I'm not going through any surgery to enhance that shit. Like, I did, I put on some mascara or whatever. I painted my toes, put some nails on and shit, smell good. Yeah, I looked the part as best I could. But to think I could actually, like, morph my sex and become a woman is utterly ludicrous. It's an untenable concept. It's left-wing ideology gone berserk. And if we keep entertaining this conversation, we're going to entertain it right into the destruction of everything we've built. It's just too much work to like to get everybody on that, to get everybody to master that juggling act, you know? If you got your own circles where that's just accepted, fine. But like, we got a society to run here. We got cities, towns, nation. We got demands, economies. We got shit going on. I really couldn't give a fuck whether you wanted to be called she or he. As long as you don't get on my bad side, I'll call you what the fuck you want to be called. But when you start telling me how everything isn't inclusive and everything isn't, yeah, everything doesn't need to be that way. That's why things are fucked up now. Because you want to live in this world where we can be nice to everybody and we can handle everything with kid gloves and no, you're effort and cool. Just like she said, it's about team building and not about winning. What the fuck do you mean? Hello, you play to win the game. You don't play to just play. Like, you don't get upset when you lose. Maybe not like rage upset, but like, you know, isn't it like you get upset because you wanted to win and the effort you put forth did not get you that. So now you have to look forward to the next event, you know? You have to look at your weaknesses instead of being able to celebrate your strengths. But that's competition and that's healthy. And we need that. You know, maybe we was a little, you know, Vince Lombardi winning it and everything is the only thing. Like, yeah, I mean, it's the biggest thing. You know, definitely is about team building, camaraderie, you know, like discipline, life lessons and all that shit, structure. But ultimately, when you compete to see who is the most skilled or the greatest competitor at whatever you're competing at. You're not doing it just to do it. Those are called casual activities. And as far as I know, sports aren't casual. They're $100 billion industries or whatever. They're not casual. We need to stop entertaining this conversation at once. Things are already going straight to shit. And I think I got a pretty unique perspective being on both sides. Like, they almost got me. But the only reason they almost got me is because I was lost and I was at a point in time where a lot of events that happened to me at once, which you could say were kind of traumatic. And my mind was open to entertaining something that I had not previously entertained. Thankfully, my mind never took it off the deep end. Like, I never once thought about becoming a woman, you know, like, I just kind of wanted the freedom to explore what that shit, see what it was, see what it wasn't, you know, in a way that I didn't know that I can explore my sexuality. At this point, I'd say that's done. That's done. And with what is becoming of this shit, like, I think if I'm going to continue on my sexuality journey, it'll be looking like how I look now. Because I don't want to be the reason somebody's kid is like fucking some little boy's thinking he's a girl and walking around spewing this shit and people are admiring it. And then I got to sleep knowing that I caused that shit. Motherfuckers looking at me sideways or whatever. It's not that I care about the looks. It's about the bigger picture. I could be doing so much more than just trying to have a little fun and like exercise a fetish. Like, there'll be time for that. But right now, it's time to fucking save this ship from sinking, because it's like the Titanic has hit a fucking iceberg and we're all still thinking we're sailing around on the unsinkable ship until that motherfucker's at the bottom of the briny deep, rusted, corroded, and, you know, inundated by the fucking the seas. You know, I don't think I'll be like a main player in that shit, but it just pisses me off every time I hear one of these pseudo pricks talking about this shit, making something up, denying reality, all so they don't feel bad. What a bunch of pussies. This one is kind of obvious. It's like a home run. It's a real easy breaking ball hanging right over the plate. The restroom shit, the restroom debate, like, it shouldn't exist. Put it like that. The restroom debate, that conversation should never have been entertained. It should never have been seriously acknowledged. It's like, like, that's just real weird. Like, it'd be different if a guy had to use it, okay, if a trans woman had to use the bathroom or a biological male was in the women's bathroom, like, because it was like one of those like one toilet women's bathrooms and like nobody was in it and the men's restroom was broken type shit. That's a nice truck. That's generally when I would be understanding that. Like, okay, yeah, you really, you know. And then even still, you wouldn't be in there with no other women. Like, what is the thrill of being a man dressed as a woman, urinating alongside other women? Like,
please explain to me how that's not weird. I don't think you can. It's a sexual fetish. Like, yeah, I get that. When I dressed up, I'm not gonna lie, I have went into the women's bathroom, but I've done it a handful of times. Like, literally a handful. Because it's weird. Like, I got a whole apartment where I could bring bitches back and get them naked. Like, why am I in the back? Like, why am I fucking being pressed over trying to piss next to them? Like, that's fucking weird. I would much rather a man be uncomfortable seeing me dressed up in the men's restroom, but getting the clear indication and such, like, you know, it's not a fetish thing. Like, I gotta piss. I gotta fucking use the bathroom. Sorry. Like, you know, you have to see me for like 30 seconds, you know, and feel some kind of way about it for however long you choose afterward. But it don't feel right. Like, it definitely don't feel right. It definitely feel like you behind enemy lines. Not enemy in the sense like, you know, warish or battle, but like you are unauthorized to be in that territory. Like, you are somewhere where you unauthorized to be. It's like when you're a teenager and you just sneak out and you go over your girlfriend's house so y'all can mess around and shit, and her dad finds out you there. It's like, nigga, you ain't supposed to be here. You are an unauthorized guest, and you got caught. And I understand the thrill in that, but, you know, it's a very juvenile thrill, and I don't think it's one that serves as a decent model for, like, living your life and, like, being considered normal in society. Like, the restroom shit is ridiculous. And there have already been cases where, if you kind of like think this out, where trans women, biological males, have ended up in female prisons, and if I'm not mistaken, have sexually assaulted, to what I've heard. There have been trans women, biological men, DNA men, who have assaulted women in female prison. Now, if you're a man, just any average man, why would you want to go to a female prison? Like, mens rea as a criminal, like, convicted, no matter misdemeanor, felony, convicted, time. Like, why would you want to go to a woman's prison? Like, so you can socialize amongst the women and, like, steal ketchup packets at lunchtime to, you know, feign menstruation or whatever weird-ass pseudo-cultural imitation that you're trying to pull off to, like, you know, you're trying to get the bar to 100%, and it's not mathematically, physically, actually possible. Your goal is a never-ending spiral in some kind of direction. It's usually not up. It's fucking weird. It's unacceptable. It was unacceptable when I did it. I don't do it. I haven't done it in a long time, like literally a handful of times. It was not a regular thing for me. Like, that's not, you know, I don't really care if I pass or whether nobody will say nothing. It's like, it's weird for me. It's not like I got some type of raging urge to just piss amongst men, but, like, I've been pissing amongst men my whole life. Like, I don't, you know, I have used the bathroom next to women, but it's not like I elect for that shit. You know, like, hey, if you're not doing anything later, I wonder if you'd squat and take a piss together. Like, it's not weird like that, man. It's like, if we were stranded on the side of the road or something, and, like, we had got, you know, maybe had, like, a couple beers or something collectively, and, like, this broke the seal, like, yeah, we might pull over, piss on the side of the road next to each other, laugh, giggle, tease and shit. Like, yeah, but not like that's the entree. Like, no, that's weird. That's strange. I don't, even at this point with where I am with it, like, I still don't understand it. In fact, I understand it less, and I don't, like, that's just not me. That part of it's not me, because it should be real obvious, man. Like, this is the way things have been forever, and there's not a problem. I don't hear women complaining about not being able to go to the men's restroom. I've never actually seen these restroom wars or the necessity for unisex everywhere, because I gotta be inclusive of whatever your ass might be. Like, it's kind of like the kid who didn't want gym class but got gym class, like hates working out and just sits through it. Like, that's kind of how the left has us with this whole privileges and rights and all of this shit. It's real. This is like fucking low-hanging fruit, real basic level, just nonsense, gobbledygook. Like, it's not real. It's like a real matrix. Like, that's what the fuck it's like. Like, at this point, like, I understand how blessed I am to like have like been able to emerge from these limiting beliefs and these inept ideologies and thought processes to be able to just come to grips with objective reality, like the way life is, the world is, how things are. There's no question for me. Like, there is no denying what is. Like, why would you do that? Like, why are you denying what is? That almost automatically indicates a problem with you. Like, you're denying what is. What factually, objectively, empirically is. All for what? So you don't feel bad? I've said this before, like, what the fuck makes you think you get some type of fast track kid glove, like, you know, Kitty Lane, like Bunny Slope? Like, why am I responsible for your inability to handle things that are possible in life? Like, it is possible for people to be mean, or for people to be unaccepting, or for people to just not be generally receptive to you and your personality. Like, you're not gonna blend and mix with everybody. But to like shame and just belittle and be manipulative and like narcissistic and like tone policing, word policing, like this shit, like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, all the LGBT, whatever, the trans shit, like, who do you think you are? Like, you are fortunate if somebody remembers you enough to call you by your nickname. You're lucky enough to get a nickname. Some people won't call you what you want to be called. And like, that's just a fact of life, based on the fact that you cannot control the speech of others. That is something out of the realm of your control. Nobody can control what you say. You can't control what nobody say. Just because you call somebody and they answer the phone, that doesn't make them say hello. They choose to say hello. You didn't make them say hello by dialing them. This shit is crazy, man. This shit is like abject lunacy. And like, even with me being on both sides of the coin with this shit, like, instinctually, whatever I was getting away with, whatever thrill was associated with it, was ultimately not a substantial or a reward that I could genuinely appreciate. Like, whatever I'm getting for this is just, it feels icky, it's impure, and I don't care to expend the energy to have to be constantly reasoning with myself or trying to like numb myself to the scumbag in me. Like, just no. It's not worth it to me. Let the women have their bathroom. Men, like, some men are just gonna be uncomfortable about this shit because trans people do exist. And believe it or not, a lot of these motherfuckers are in the closet. They're on the DL. And it's not really even a big deal to most people. Like, a lot of people, especially in Vegas, they fucking get down. They go both ways. They suck some dick. They will hop in an orgy, like, without the flyer. It's not even like really worth lying about. You know, I understand all the other implications and shit, but it's just not even really worth lying about. And it's not really worth putting women at risk and in danger, even in facilities as secure as prisons. Like, what an awful time to be a woman with all these third-rate doppelgangers and fucking wannabe self-proclaimed credentialists yammering on and on about shit that just doesn't. It's all fraudulent and it's dumb. And if you listen and buy into this shit, you might as well literally be injecting poison directly into your brain. If you take to the internet and get on one of these social media platforms, it won't take you long to see that depending on who you follow and, you know, the type of shit you watch, you'll be seeing some of these videos where you got this person and they start lecturing you about, you know, the historical accuracy of particular subjects and, you know, how what you've been taught is either incorrect or mostly incorrect or partially incorrect or slightly incorrect. And the way they are interpreting it is actually the correct way. And they've got some facts to back it up and, you know, to explain it to you. And, you know, you should listen to them, you know, because they went to this school for 3 years and, you know, they took a tap dancing class once back in 87. They, you know, fucking went to go see Beyonce in concert or some shit like that, and they can hula hoop. So, you know. Anywho, oh shit, I just got a real good scratch. That felt great. Anywho, I say all that to say, I think it's called credentialism, and like this wave of just these people constantly having to explain things that were not in question prior to the explanation. Like, there's too many of these, what you want to call them, representatives. It's like they just coming out the woodwork. It's like everybody's got a video that's, you know, tells you what's trans-normative and what's trans-irregular and, you know, and who you should be respecting and which words you should be using and which direction you should be walking and how much money you should be spending and what your children should be looking out for, and if they're looking out for your children and all, you know, and why the fuck are the children involved in this shit? Like, that's really what you see a lot. At least what I see a lot is some fucking unnatural color, neon green, fucking fiery purple, like, you know, fierce violet or some shit like that. And they're talking about something they've told somebody else's kid. And then suddenly they ask them, are you non-binary, or like, what do you identify as? And like, how it made their heart just flutter and elevate with joy. And it was just a jovial moment. And this is what I live for. This is the children and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just looking at it and I'm like, I do not see I don't see what's cute about that. It's disgusting. I do not see what's cute about introducing something that's so recently fresh in the mainstream. And like, you know, recent is like 10 years ago, this shit wasn't around. And it's like, now we're putting this shit in front of children. Like, we still don't understand it. And I mean, we as in any layman, any average person trying to keep up with this shit. It's like, it's something new every day, or some new PSA about why you got to acknowledge this group and like why you can't say this word because of some shit somebody did 100, 200 years ago, and you got to pay for what the fuck they did. Otherwise, they won't feel good. And if they don't feel good, then like, what? Like, I can't even. Like, what type of motherfucker would I be to sit here and just enjoy my life, work for what I get, you know, and ingratiate with the you know, niceties and luxuries of my life, like, and then you just come along and say, hey, I don't like that. When you do that, it makes me feel. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. You're wrong. I'm not going to lie to you about easily provable shit. And the reason you want me to do that is for your self-esteem or self-esteem based. Like, to make you feel a way you want to feel. Like, I am not your push button shock. I'm not your quick hit. I'm not your key bump. I'm me, bitch. Like, for real. It's insulting. Especially to assume that I participate in this weird, like, runner-up wannabe ass ritual that you trying to, like, push on me. Like, you're like, every interaction with you is a jostle to see if you can bend me against my will and use that to benefit you emotionally, positively, like, whatever the fuck. And, like, to me, it's real obvious. It's like, I'm not that. Like, I don't give a fuck. Man, you could Google right now how many fucks is in the world that can be possibly given at any moment for any reason. And, like, there is not one of those fucks registered in my name regarding how you feel about a word I said, or especially if I wasn't being malicious, like, oh, you didn't like that I spoke the truth? Well, I don't goddamn care. How about that? I don't like that you don't like what I'm fucking saying, and I don't like you for it. If I'm saying some shit, you supposed to like it. What type of motherfucker go around wanting to hear my conversation and then not like me too? You know what? Take your bigotry somewhere else. Like, I see you, obviously, you have a predisposition for discriminating against colored people and blacks like me. So, I'm gonna just cancel you. Because I know more than you know about what you think you know. Even if what you think you know is fact. I still know more than that. That's how they roll. That's how they get down. That's what the shit is. And it's like playing dodgeball with asteroids. Like, you might get some little phew. Then when that fucking massive comet of shit come through, like, if you can't fucking dodge that. It's like they want to throw that ball every single game. They don't want to have a variety of moderately to mildly to massively to minutely microscopic. They don't want a range of asteroids to dodge ball with. They want the fucking planet-sized dodgeball that you can't dodge, because that's totally fair and it makes sense and it's fun and it's something you want to do. Fuck. All this shit y'all talking, cut it. This is why I say this conversation just needs to stop being had seriously. If you are going to walk around in society and spew, I don't want to say believe this, but if you're going to, like, advertise this obvious garbage, this filth, this nonsense, which is all just a free, unsolicited blueprint for the path to happiness that you want us to pave for you, go fuck yourself. You're not the authority of anything. What you're saying is fallacious at best. You're factually incorrect. And facts don't care about your feelings. You don't have a truth. Give a fuck about your truth. Fuck your truth. Seriously. That's my truth. That's my experience. I don't give a damn. Life is an experience, and while it's very dynamic, it's also pretty rigid. Fuck, you ain't, yo shit. Like, okay. Everybody in like there's certain things that, like, I can say that, like, just strike you as normal because it's a part of the life experience. Like, oh, you getting fired from a job, or you just get you fucking get in a relationship, or you bought a car, or like, those are things that are a fixture in the human experience. It's not, and then there's your experience, which could, be arranged. Everybody's arrangement of the things they've experienced within the life experience is different. but people mesh on certain levels in certain ways, and like people who play the same sport, people who play the same instrument, shit like that, they mesh on levels, and you generally try to align yourself within like the most balanced mesh, that vibes with you. But it's certainly not this random person who you've never heard of, who's got the colored hair, who's got some weird ass facial piercing and a rainbow something somewhere, telling you what you ought to think or how something is or what you ought to respect. There is no way that you should be buying into that shit. Not one bit. Don't be a moron. Like, how long do you have to be alive to be an adult in society to know, like, that certain shit is just, like, complete jive?
All right, here's the creme de la creme. So, normally I just open with the article, but I have found something. I tried to do a confirmation bias check, which in this instance isn't really necessary, but in regards to trans women in sports, I mean, I think this is the most slam dunk out of all the topics, if there is a slam dunk to it, but like, this is a discussion that needs to be like immediately halted. It's so open and shut. It's so like day and night. It's beyond comical, beyond parody, as Matt Walsh, I've heard him say, and a couple other people. I forget the other person I heard say, but it's beyond parody. Like, this cannot be a joke. This is beyond trying to get a laugh. Like, these people are fucking serious. So, obviously, I've made prior episodes about this, where I stand as far as the trans women being in sports. It's laughable. It's hilarious. But it's a serious discussion. I think the question, what if Brock Lesnar wanted to be a trans woman, sums it up in its entirety. Like, it just doesn't, no. Absolutely no. There's no fathomable thread of reality in which this is going to, like, blend in, make sense, be something for real. The swimmer, Leah Thomas, is probably the most notable example of a biological DNA male, trans woman, DNA man, competing against DNA women, females, women, not cisgender. We ain't with that cis shit. And just devastating. Hold on, I messed up my thing here. I think I did. Yep, and my computer just crashed. That's great. No worries. I'll have it up and running in a hot New York minute. Nevertheless, freaking, like I said, open and slam dunk case. So while I get my computer back going with the article that I wanted to talk about, it's essentially saying they got some science, and like I said, I tried to do a confirmation bias check, which I don't really need to do. And it says, do trans athletes have an advantage over women? Do trans athletes have an advantage over women? Because if I just search for, anything else, I would get what I'm searching for. I'm trying to figure out, do they have an advantage? I'm not assuming that they do or do not. I want to know if they do. Oh my God. Computer's going through updates. So, yeah, I guess I'll freestyle on this a little more until I get to it. So it's like, basically, like, I wanted to read the whole article because, like, the first result to pop up on Google suggests that they did a study, a 2015 study, a rare 2015 study on 8 trans athletes. 8. That's a hell of a sample size right there. 8 trans athletes whose time from male to female has actually slowed down. So let's analyze the error in that. Like, okay, so the time slowed down. Like, it didn't say it slowed down by how much. Now maybe it will. I might have to fire up another segment and touch on the article, because this shit's looking like it's moving pretty slow. This is the worst time for that shit to happen. But I'm all about transparency over here, so I'll get it to you straight. But nevertheless, okay, so their times slowed down. Like, so what? Just because they run slower, that means that they don't have a competitive advantage still? What I didn't see it say is like women beat men. Women beat those men. It just said their time slowed down. Didn't say they were no longer competitive or that they lost, you know? And I think it's really weird to reference the fact that they have like male times and female times. This kind of further undermines the whole argument that trans women are women. Like, trans women are not women. They are biological males, simply for the fact that they transition between one time as a male and another time as a female. I know it works off the premise that trans women are women, but that statement is flawed, because if they were women, the statement trans women are women is defunct. It's unnecessary. It's moot. You know? That's like saying popsicles are ice cream. Like, all popsicles are ice cream. Like, well, duh. But saying all trans, it's redundant. You don't have to say all popsicles are ice cream. Like, popsicle is ice cream. Just like you don't have to say trans women are women. Trans women are women if they're women, which they're not. Not one of them is. I don't give a fuck how much surgery, how much any of that shit. Like, it just doesn't work that way. Now, you know, let me see if I can pull it up on my phone, actually. That might be a worthy alternative. Let me check my history real quick. Yep, here we go. Okay. I don't know why I didn't think of that from the first place. I was really trying to not use my phone and talk into it. But, let's scroll up to the top here. It's from Rodrigo Perez Ortega. Science Magazine. World Athletics banned transgender women from competing. Does science support the rule? Some researchers say the decision is discriminatory and not based on evidence. The World Athletics, the governing body for track and field and other running competitions, announced last month that transgender women who went through male puberty can no longer compete in women's events at international competitions. The policy took effect on March 31st. Oh yeah, by the way, this is dated from April 4th, 2023. Forgot to mention that. April 4th, 2023. Rodrigo Perez Ortega. World Athletics also ruled that to compete as a woman, athletes with differences of sexual development, DSD, who have congenital conditions that cause atypical sex development, must have a testosterone level below 2.5 nanomoles per liter for at least 24 months before an international competition. World Athletics says this rule prioritize fairness and the integrity of female competition, quote. The organization's president, Sebastian Coe, said, quote, We will be guided in this by the science around physical performance and male advantage, which will inevitably develop over the coming years. But Joanna Harper, a PhD student at Loughborough University who studies transgender athletes' performance, questions whether the World Athletics fully considered the scientific evidence. Quote, I was disappointed with the decision, says Harper, who is transgender. The idea that it was necessary to ban trans women to protect the female category seems so far-fetched. Really? The idea that it was necessary to ban trans women to protect the female category seems so far-fetched. Like, how do you, as a sane, reasonable person, hear that sentence and think consecutively, like, oh, well, this person is spot on. Everything's working right up there. You know, like, what the fuck? Are you serious? Like, this is supposed to be an SNL skit type sentence, not something we genuinely entertain as having any degree of factuality. Fucking crazy. She says the new rules discriminate against trans athletes, which they do, and will likely hinder research on transgender women's athletic performance. Science Insider examines some of the key issues. Is it evident that transgender women athletes have a physiological advantage? Okay. Not according to Eric Villen, what a name, a geneticist at the University of California, Irvine, who specializes in gender-based biology, which is nothing. Very little research has been published on transgender athletes, and what has been published didn't provide enough results to create evidence-based policies, says Eric Villain, says Villain, who does not identify as transgender. It's not black and white. For example, a 2021 review found trans women's muscle mass remains high after transitioning, but their levels of hemoglobin, the oxygen-carrying protein in blood, were comparable to women's. Increased level of hemoglobin facilitate more oxygen and transport to muscles when active, and men tend to have higher hemoglobin than women. Okay. Excuse me, I need to burp on that. Okay. Found trans women's muscle mass remains high after transitioning, but their levels of hemoglobin tend to decrease when men have higher hemoglobin. So are you suggesting that the sole reason that trans women don't have an advantage is because of less hemoglobin in the blood cells? So their muscles can't facilitate oxygen throughout the body at a rate necessary to compete at an elite athletic level? Is that what you're suggesting? Because if so, that's utterly absurd, stupid as fuck. One of the dumbest things I've heard this decade. And that's a hard fucking title to get. Trust me, because there's a lot of dumb shit floating around this decade. Like, seriously. Hang on, I'm gonna put this phone back down and pull this shit up on my laptop. Because I would rather have the laptop. It would be, how do you say, better for me? Okay. So yeah. Let's see, where was I in this nonsense? I normally try to breeze through these, but I'm actually having fun with this. This shit's nuts. This is outright nuts. Okay, the lack of definitive data supports the rule. A WA spokesperson told Science Insider, quote, it is precisely because there is insufficient evidence to prove that the male advantage of male to female transgender athletes can be removed that World Athletics has made this decision, the spokesperson said in email. Is there a scientific consensus about how trans athletes actually perform compared with women? No, Verlaine says. Is there a scientific consensus about how trans athletes actually perform compared with... There isn't. Ah, shit. The fuck was that? Big ass bug just landed on my face. Get me out of this country, motherfucker. Jesus. But yeah, is there a science... Like, how is there not a scientific consensus about this? Among what scientific community? Where? The lab studies of athletes' hemoglobin and muscle mass say nothing about whether trans women can run faster, jump higher, or throw farther. You have to demonstrate that before excluding transgender athletes. Like, what? It says nothing about whether trans women can run faster, jump higher, or throw farther? Like, first of all, we've already established that just because they're biological men. That's the basis we're going off of, not because of what they are becoming. This is because of what they already are intrinsically. So based on that, there is no need for a demonstration. It's already been demonstrated. That's why we already have men's and women's leagues. Like all this new data, like where the fuck is this new data coming from? You saying we had it wrong? Like since what? Since I'm trying to think of the word, like the revolution where we started using machinery and shit, like the engineering, all that, like, so we just had it wrong since then. Back in the Civil War, back in any war, Vietnam, like they weren't confused about who was male and who wasn't, who was female and who wasn't. Does this woman have a penis? These questions didn't exist. A rare performance study on trans athletes, a 2015 study by Harper of 8 women found their race time slowed after transitioning from male to female, while their performance relative to sex-matched runners stayed the same. The results suggest they have no advantage over women. Of 8 women, okay, 8 women out of like how many female athletes who are competitive on in some type of league which is acknowledged and considered to be competitive among the elite levels, highest levels. 8 women, the race time slowed after transitioning from male to female while their performance relative to sex-matched runners. What the fuck does that mean? While their performance relative to sex-matched runners? So the runners they were fucking? Like, what do you mean sex-matched? Like, if they transition, say you mean like men running against men, how do their race times slow, but then their performance relative to sex? And what do you mean their performance? Like, the results suggest they have no advantage. All this language is very ambiguous and vague, and it's not clear. Like, and it's an 8-woman study. 8-woman study. Okay, so if I want to determine whether M&M's taste good or not, and I grab 8 people, and I do a study, and all of them say, oh yeah, M&M's are good. Does that mean M&M's are definitively good? Like 8 people? I would need like 800 million people. 80 million people. Like we need to fuck up some commas for that shit to carry any weight. Continue. Harper says that to her knowledge, no transgender women have competed internationally at the elite level.
No transgender women have competed internationally at an elite level. She interprets that to suggest that trans women do not win all the medals or break records because of any potential physical advantage. Like, these people, this is such a fucking stretch. Like, because no trans women have competed internationally at an elite level, that they don't win all the medals or break records? Like, this is all verifiably already true. Like, they're not winning all of the medals, but who said they need to win all of the medals for this claim to have any merit? And yeah, they may not be winning all the medals, but they are breaking records. I know specifically a trans woman broke the women's weightlifting record. And not by like 5 or 10 pounds, by several pounds. It's fucking stupid. Stupid. And interprets that to suggest trans women do not win all the medals because of any potential physical advantage. Like, they won the medals that they got definitely as a result of a fucking potential physical advantage. Like, absolutely. What else do you think it is? Where does the World Athletics testosterone limit for athletes with DSD come from? Testosterone is important in athletic performance because it increases muscle mass, strength, and hemoglobin levels. Female athletes with DSD, such as South African runner Caster Semenya, often have higher levels of testosterone than other women, while men in general have testosterone levels that range from 10 to 35 nmol. I forgot what the nmol per liter. Women's testosterone usually stays below 2.4 nmol a liter. In a 2018 ruling, World Athletics said transgender athletes and people with DSD could compete in women's events as long as their testosterone levels were below 5 nmol. Harper was on an expert committee advising WA last year that recommended lowering the limit to 2.5 for both trans athletes and people with DSD. But the organization chose to apply that limit to only athletes with DSD and to ban female trans athletes from competition. Let me go back up and see what the DSD is. Oh yeah, differences of sexual development. The fuck? The fuck? What is that? And it says, you know, it seems to me that if the end result of that was to ban female trans athletes, it seems like the right decision to me. It seems like the right decision to me. Hold on, where was I at? Like, okay. Yep. Athletes can take medication to lower their testosterone, but the effects are short-lived, Harper says. It's so difficult to maintain steady hormone levels. There needs to be tolerance for fluctuations, she says. Something the previous limit of 5 nmol a liter allowed. And there's uncertainty in this area as well. A 2021 consensus statement from the International Federation of Sports Medicine noted a lack of performance studies for athletes of DSD with before, during, or after testosterone suppression. You know why there's a lack of study? Because this shit has never happened before. They're making erroneous claims as if they're long known biological and like they're tenets of society. No. Verlaine, for his part, calls the policy discriminatory because it only applies to athletes with DSD. It allows many women with elevated testosterone levels, such as those who have polycystic ovary syndrome, to compete, he says. Athletics South Africa, the national organization that governs track and field, is reportedly taking legal advice in response to the World Athletics' new, quote, highly discriminatory regulations for DSD athletes. This is fucking nonsense. Do you understand why I'm saying, like, this conversation just can't happen? It's not a conversation that can stay within the realm of sanity. Like, highly discriminatory regulations, like, yes, they are discriminating against trans women for the sake of, you know, women. Like, why is everything discriminatory against you? Why is everybody discriminating against you? Like, if that's the case, aren't you the least common denominator? Like, why the fuck is it never you? Why is everybody always excluding you? Like, yeah, you're being excluded for a reason. Exclusion itself is not a negative thing. Just because I exclude you, you know, it doesn't mean that, you know, it's just to pick on you or make fun of you. Like, you know, if you know, if you can't skateboard, you would most likely be excluded from joining the X Games, okay? You're not going to be riding no skateboard down no fucking ramp. You're not going to be doing no McTwists, fakey spins, and pop shove-its and shit. Like, because you're not a skateboarder. You're going to bust your ass. You're going to hurt yourself. So, like, we're going to exclude you from being able to compete in this event for your own safety. It's not because of, you know, whether you got a wang or you got a fucking box. Who cares? Except you fucking weirdos. How will World Athletics decisions affect research on trans athletes and those with DSD? It can hinder these athlete studies by driving trans women out of international events and other professional competitions. Good, Harper says. For example, British athletics has already adopted World Athletics rule. I have heard from 3 trans athletes, quote, I have heard from 3 trans athletes in other countries that they are now too afraid to compete in the sport they love, she adds. Well, you should have thought about that before you start cutting your junk off. If fewer trans athletes compete, the number of potential study participants will in turn decrease, and athletes with DSD who will want to compete will have to alter their bodies by lowering their hormone levels, complicating efforts to study their apparent advantages. Hey, well, whatever. If it's to protect women, actual women, who work hard at their sport, just as hard as men, regardless of the actual measurement of the physical output of whatever sex involved. Like, just because men are stronger and exert more physical force does not mean that women don't work to a similar degree to exert their capacity of physical force as well, and skill and prowess in their sport. So yeah, if it means that there's less data to work with, fuck, so be it. Less data. Make it harder for researchers to produce data to inform policy. Like, well, the policy's fine. Policy didn't need changing. Everything's got to change for you. Like, the shit was fine the way it was. Now you come along and everything's got to fucking change and shit because everybody's against you. Well, why do you think everybody's against you? Look at all the shit you're causing. Nobody gives a fuck what you want to appear as or be out in the world. But, like, when you're trying to, like, twist the fabric of reality in such a way that, like, people who identify with objective reality and who have, for their whole life, fuck out of here. Whoa, bitch. When you're doing that, it's a big ask. Have other athletic organizations enacted similar rules? Yes, in 2022, the Union Cycliste Internationale, the governing body for cycling, announced a testosterone limit of 2.5 nmol per liter for trans women cyclists. A few days later, FINA, the governing body for swimming, barred trans women for competing in women's events. World Rugby has an outright ban on trans women in international women's rugby. The International Olympic Committee's approach is more science-informed, says Villain, who took part in the organization's 2021 Trans Inclusion Framework. It says no athlete should be excluded from competing on the basis of, quote, unverified, alleged, or perceived unfair competitive advantage due to their sex variations, quote, yes, they should, end quote. Me saying, yes, they should. And no athlete should be pressured to undergo medically unnecessary procedures to meet criteria to compete, which they aren't. If they are undergoing that pressure, it's self-imposed pressure. Quote, I would certainly hope that more data will sway policies in the future, Harper says. Okay, so to wrap up on this whole thing, it's a farce. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. This conversation needs to stop happening seriously. Like, not like it seriously needs to stop happening, even though it does. Like, if it's gonna be a conversation that's had, it's for, like, purposes of parody. Like, it's a joke. It's not something that we're talking about wasting time with, clogging up legislation, pushing bills, starting campaigns and rallies and shit over. Like, all that needs to die. These people can exist without these things. These people need attention so they don't feel bad about their own decisions. And although I've been down that road and I never felt as if I needed the attention, there was certainly a point in time where it felt really good. And it was something I pursued, but it was only because I had never really experienced how good it felt. It very quickly became annoying and frustrating, especially for an introvert like myself. And it's like, if I look good, I know I look good. I don't need the verification of other people everywhere I go telling me I look beautiful and throwing out these hollow-ass compliments to build themselves up. Like, I don't fucking need that. I'm a grown-ass man. I done made it this far without people stroking my ego all the fucking time, telling me how beautiful I look, or telling me to go and be powerful and all this shit. I kind of figured that part out on my own. And that's why I know these people are full of shit. I have no problem telling them they're full of shit, because they are, You don't need everybody's admiration, affirmation, and acknowledgement. All you need to do is figure yourself out. And it's not like that's a process that you put, it's like a game of baseball. Like, that shit plays until it's over. There's no time limit on it. That's kind of how this discovery phase is. Like, you take as much time as you need to figure it out. If you take too long, then you will be able to discern that based on the response you get back from people. Because while there is no limit, like, it's a average amount of time where it's like, if you don't have it figured out, you should by now. Like, even at the slowest pace, like, you should at least have a base enough idea to where, like, there's a base to you. Like, there's a core set of values and ideas, and, you know, your personality falls within some type of measurable and trait, some type of measurable template that's been seen before. And if you're not at that point, well, fuck, sucks to be you, man. But it's not up to me to verify what you think of yourself. Like, figure it out. Stop being a puss. Allow me to force some more music on you as a parting gift. Ladies and gentlemen, See You by Chico de Manuel. Enjoy.
That's a lot of booty that you're carrying. Coke bottle, figure waist, very thin. Type of booty I wanna get buried in. Make a nigga think about marrying. Wanna see it jiggle to the tempo. I'm a freak, and I heard you an info. I can make you rich about like tenfold, plain and simple. Shake that ass while a nigga go Tarancho. Make it dip low, up and down on the dick though. Hit a split hole while you blowing on the endo. Buy your kendo, lay the pipe like Nintendo. Make me spin low, keep the booty on the swivel. If you want it, come and get it, baby. Let me hit it, baby. You already know I'm with it, baby. Dick game exquisite, baby. Every time I visit, baby. Love the way you been and shaking, nigga. Feel rejuvenated. You know what it is. Hey. I ain't here to talk, I wanna see you twerk. I ain't here to talk, I wanna see you twerk. Bend it over, shake that ass, mommy, put in work. You know what it is. Hey. I ain't here to talk, I wanna see you twerk. I ain't here to talk, I wanna see you twerk. Bend it over, shake that ass, mommy, put in work. Asking all directions, that's a 360. Yeah. Bad bitches wishing they could be with me. Yeah. Sipping nail in the whip and I'm a little tipsy. Yeah. She wanna get me tattooed, now I'm feeling risky. Yeah. It's crazy cause I'm far from the biggest spender. Yeah. Niggas keep me in their sights, I'm a top contender. Yeah. What's my tab, what's her name, I cannot remember. Yeah. And I'm the flyest nigga in here, I don't seek approval. Smoking on the best, smell me reeking through it. Yeah. All this ass in my face like I'm speaking to it. Yeah. Slim, thick, red bone and a red thong. Yeah. She got the kind of ass that I can spend some bread on. Little mama, you nasty, feeling like we compatible. Booty looking fantastic, moving it like a natural. These niggas is lowercase, baby, I'm fucking capital. Bitch, I'm spending capital. You know what it is. I ain't here to talk, I wanna see you twerk. I ain't here to talk, I wanna see you twerk. Bend it over, shake that ass, mommy, put in work. Put in spending capital. You know what it is. I ain't here to talk, I wanna see you twerk. I ain't here to talk, I wanna see you twerk. Bend it over, shake that ass, mommy, put in work.
Girl, make it clap, and I'ma make it rain. I'm in love with a stripper, feeling like T-Pain. Girl, make it clap, and I'ma make it rain. I'm in love with a stripper, feeling like T-Pain. Girl, make it clap, and I'ma make it rain. I'm in love with a stripper, feeling like T-Pain. Girl, make it clap, and I'ma make it rain. I'm in love with a stripper, feeling like T-Pain. Yeah.
You know what it is. I ain't here to talk, I wanna see you twerk. I ain't here to talk, I wanna see you twerk. Bend it over, shake that ass, mommy, put in work. You know what it is. I ain't here to talk, I wanna see you twerk. I ain't here to talk, I wanna see you twerk. Bend it over, shake that ass, mommy, put in work.
Work, God damn, 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 work, God
Oh, yeah. The answer to last episode's riddle. Since the concrete is very hard. The concrete is very hard. Okay, see you guys on the next episode. Bye.